Topping is a brand known for their sources, their DACs, their amps, and other devices. What they're not known for, however, is for IEMs, and that's because they've never made one. Until now. The Hane by ArpegEar. Hey friends, Steven here, welcome back to another video, and today we have a review. Yes, not a product showcase, a proper review of the Hane by ArpegEar, aka Topping. Jumping right into it, the Hane sports a one dynamic driver setup with 4 tuning switches coming in at $129 US. Accessories includes a cloth cable, which is pretty good. There's no microphonics here. Also 6 sets of ear tips. 3 silicone sets of stock ear tips, 2 foam sets, and 1 that looks to be a Moondrop spring. Other than that, you get a SIM card tool to help adjust the switch, and also a carrying pouch that is kind of too small for the IEM in my opinion. And despite my dislike of tuning switches usually, because they're not really well done 90% of the time, even I have to admit that the tuning switches done in the Hane, it's pretty good. We'll talk more about that later though. Let's first talk about the Hane in its stock form. How does it sound in its bass configuration? The Hane is an upper mid-range and treble forward IEM, which means more energy in the vocals and more highlighting for the treble nuances. And while the Hane is not devoid of bass by any means, the bass really does feel secondary to the rest of the presentation. Overall, I think it sounds fine tuning wise. There's not a lot of big red flags, only a few minor ones here and there. But having said that, there's also not a lot of standout qualities that would make me pick the Topping Hane over its competitors. That's not to say the Hane is a bad IEM, it's far from it. Like I said, it's a fine sounding IEM. There are good qualities about it, and we'll touch on those good qualities after we talk about all the flaws. Flaw number 1, the treble is a bit peaky. Now this does come with the benefit of highlighting some more treble nuances, and some of you guys out there might appreciate the amount of details being shoved in your face, but in my experience, it doesn't really work that way for me. Yes, there's a lot of treble nuances, but they're not natural in any way. They sound more congested and peaky if anything. On a relating note as well, if you are sensitive to treble, the Hane's treble might just be too much. Flaw number 2, the bass is just okay. Now it's not absolutely soft, but it's not as defined as I would like. So just okay. Flaw number 3, it could potentially be shouty to some of you guys out there. Now, I can handle a bit of shoutiness, but I could imagine someone who's more sensitive to the upper mid-range especially not liking this one so much. But Timmy, what about the switches? Don't those help at all with any of these tuning quirks that you don't like? Good question, dear viewers, and the answer is it kind of does in some ways. Which brings me to this next section now, the pros of the Hane. And pro number 1, the switch implementation is actually good. The first switch boosts sub bass by about 2 dBs. Now this makes the overall sound a bit more balanced out, a bit less shouty overall, and if I were to use the Hane myself, this switch would be permanently turn on. Switch number 2 boosts overall bass, sub bass, and mid bass by about 4 dB. Now this does make the Hane sound more V-shaped because again, the Hane does have quite a bit of treble. Now it has quite a bit of bass as well. So V-shape. The third switch lowers everything from 3 kHz and onwards, so reducing a bit of that upper mid range and a lot of the treble. Now I like using this switch alongside the first switch, the sub bass boost, because it makes the Hane sound even more balanced out, which to me sounds better. And also with the treble being reduced, the timbre of vocals and instruments sound better as well. Alongside the details in the treble, although reduced now, they sound more natural to me. And the fourth and last switch boosts everything above 3 kHz. Now I don't recommend this because the treble in its stock form is already too much for me, too peaky for me, and boosting it up even more just makes it sound worse. But for those of you who like the extra treble, the extra sparkle, here's an option that is just for you. Moving on to pro number 2. Wait. I think that's it. Yeah, only one pro. Overall, as a single dynamic driver IEM, the Hane is a fine sounding one. I enjoyed my time testing it, and I think if people were to own the Hane, many people wouldn't complain about the sound quality. The problem with the Hane is that it just doesn't sound good enough to be special or to stand out in the sea of competitors that is in this price bracket. Let's not even talk about the other driver configuration. Just in the single dynamic driver market alone, the Aria 2, which is $40 cheaper, sound better than the Hane. The timbre is better because the treble is way better handled. Everything just sounds more cohesive and natural, and also surprisingly snappier than the Hane. Despite the Hane having more treble overall, you'd think that it would come across snappier, but it doesn't. Somehow the Aria 2 takes the win even in the technical performance. Now, the only time I see someone picking the Hane over the Aria 2 is if you want the versatility of the switches. Because the switches on the Hane is so well done, you can actually make the Hane into various different tuning that all sound decent. For example, the Hane can be a vocal forward IM in its stock form. It could be a more balanced out tuning with the sub bass boost up and the treble boost down configuration. It could be a bassy monster if you boost up both of the switches and down the treble. It could be a super V shape if you boost the bass and the treble. It can do quite a few things, and again, they all sound decent. But if you don't care about the switches and the versatility factor that comes with the switches, it's kind of hard to recommend the Hane over other things even under $100. And that is it for this review of the Hane by ArpegEar, aka Topping. As the first ever product, I think it's a fine one. There's some good qualities, like the switches are good, the tuning is overall really decent, and the value proposition is also not bad. Not competitive, but not bad. I can only hope that Topping keeps improving from here. I'm definitely looking forward to whatever they come out next. And with that being said, subscribe for more IEM shenanigans coming in the near future, and I'll see you next time. Peace out. Bye.